Wow, what a report from the USDA today. So let's just cut to the chase. We had a stocks report out first. There really wasn't much to discuss there, especially on the beans and wheat, just a little bit above trade expectations. The corn stocks at 7.7 billion bushels. I mean, that's a little bit lower and really implies that the USDA might have the feed usage understated in here by 25 to 50 million bushels. In the big picture, it's not that big of a deal in here on the stocks report. As you flip over to the next page, I mean, this is what this report was all about on this acreage. As you had corn acres at 91.1 million acres and soybeans at 87.6 million acres. And like we talked about over the previous month, we thought that the combined total between the corn and soybean acres would end up in the 180 to 185 million acre range, okay, that the price incentive was there to go out there and seed corn and soybeans. And the USDA came out here, and that combined number is at 178.7 million acres. And that's just that huge swing down in here when you look at the corn number below the lowest expectations, and that bean number a couple million acres below the average trade estimate. So when you look at this report in here right now, it's all about this acreage. Now, as we take a step back on a little bit bigger of a picture in here right now in this March acreage report, on the far right with 2021, what we did in here is we looked at corn, soybeans, wheat, sorghum, and cotton and what those total acres are, and then also their prevent plant. And as you can see in 2021, we're looking at 244 million acres of those combined crops, above the previous couple of years, but similar to 2018. Now, when we throw prevent plant in there, that figure's got to grow into the 246 to 250 million acre range. So when we're looking at these numbers right now, it looks to us that the USDA kind of has a 3 to 4 million acre, okay, the prevent plant. So if we need to gain acres as we look ahead to the planting season in the June acreage report, where it's really going to come from is a lower prevent plant. Okay, we can gain 2 to 3 million acres of corn pretty easy if that prevent plant is down in the 1 to 2 million acre range. For reference, I'd like to point out that back in 2013, 2014, the combined acreage of corn, soybeans, wheat, sorghum, and cotton, along with prevent plant, was in the 253 to 256 million acre range. So with the price incentive being out there, what we would have to believe is that this March acreage numbers, especially on corn and beans, are the low water mark for the year. That doesn't matter today, but looking ahead, we need to keep that in mind. I also want to bring up here, if you have some questions, feel free to type them in. I'll try to address them as we go along. I mean, it's tough with a report to have all the figures in here in place, but again, I'll try to address questions, and if there's something I don't know the answer of, I'll address it on the report or with next week's webinar. Yesterday, we went through a May 21 soybean chart, and we just put on there the lines between $13 and $15. Obviously, this is a bullish report in here right now. Even though we're up limit, we can't make new contract highs. If new contract highs are made tomorrow, $15 will be that target. As I step back on the weekly chart, again, it looks like $15 would be that potential breakout. But with so much of the focus now going to new crop, we think it's much more important right now that we look at a new crop weekly continuous soybean chart. And here we have this in place. In today's trade, we can max out at 1256 with the daily limits. And the contract high, I believe, is just shy of 1270. Now, if we get above 1270, the next thing is okay, where can we go from here? And we drew $14 on this chart as a line, and where we came up with $14 is that was the peak in 2011, the peak in 2013, and before we got in the summer drought rally of 2012, that stopped the market then as well too. Okay, so it's important to remember on this bean side of it, with acreage as low as it is right now, even if you put a trend line yield in there of 50, 51 bushels an acre, you're still not going to meet this last year's demand. Okay, so either we've got to come in here, find 2 to 3 million acres more soybeans, have a national average yield 2 to 3 bushels greater, or reduce demand. Okay, that's the challenge of the market in here right now. This report puts a good layer of support underneath this bean market right now. Now, as we take a quick look over at the corn market, again, similar to beans, we can't make new contract highs in here because of the daily limits, but we're at 564 right now on May corn, okay? And you're looking at with a lock limit trade and looking at the options in a potential synthetic market, it really points another 10 to 15 cents higher. So we would be willing to bet when the market reopens here overnight, those contract highs at 575 would be targeted. When I go over to a weekly chart, I know we have this 650 as that upside target in there. I really think you get above 575. Everyone's going to talk about $6 on corn. We're kind of in no man's land a little bit, okay? So if we just look at the U.S. numbers, you're going to say, well, this thing has got to be a little bit more positive in here right now with a potential breakout to the higher side, where we've got to be a little bit cautious with on corn as world values have been trending lower and wheat has gotten cheaper as well too, okay? Just today you're seeing wheat, KC wheat front month and front month corn trading at that same price. So as we look ahead from a global perspective, is wheat going to limit corn or will corn support the wheat market? We think that's kind of the real challenge in here when you look at old crop corn. When you get towards the new crop side of it, okay, if we make new contract highs, which is about a dime above the market right now, we think the next logical target would be the 5 to 510 area. About 510 is where the market peaked out in 2014, and in 2012, before you had the drought rally, that 5 to 510 area held as support. So, you know, just like soybeans, this report puts a good layer of support underneath corn, and you'd have to say this 450 support level will probably logically hold in here through the early part of planting. We think corn acres can gain a little bit, but it seems like the market's chore in here right now is to go and secure some more bean acres. You know, some final thoughts. You know, one thing for us now, and we mentioned this before, it's all about new crop. This report is out of the way, and it was going to set us up that we were going to get a sharp move in either direction, and obviously right now that it is to the higher side, okay, and we have to respect that. You know, when we get towards the acre side of it, you know, I really think that they're probably going to grow from here, and they're going to grow because there's the price incentive. And like some phone calls we've had after this report and before getting on the webinar here, you know, every little square and every little inch of the country is going to get seeded to some sort of crop when you're looking at these current price levels. You know, weather is going to become more and more of a focus of the market. Right now, we'd have to say, given the current weather, we'd have to lean more towards an earlier spring. Historically, with an earlier spring, you have more acres. Volatility is not going to go away. We shouldn't be surprised by that, okay? You know, we can be surprised whether if you're bullish or bearish heading into this report with the market's move, but don't be surprised on the volatility. Contract highs, I think, are going to be targeted in here overnight. Contract high in D's corn was 485. Nov beans was 1265. The one thing we'd probably be willing to bet on as we move ahead to the June report, when you get the next update acreage, is that these overall acres will probably grow, okay? I mean, we've got to have some major, you know, crop issues or prevent plant for acres not to grow from this March report as we head into June. Again, it was a quick update in here with the stocks and acreage report. If you have some questions, feel free to ask. Else we'll get out more information out in our report tonight, and look forward to doing another webinar in here next Tuesday at our normal scheduled time. Again, thanks for tuning in. Any questions, please send them to us. Have a great day.